Hey guys, down here at the courthouse giving you a quick update. Dylan Anderson did plead guilty this morning to trespassing. The judge did not order any additional time served outside of the 1-year probation that they have issued him. I did not make it to that. I actually went down to the airport to pick up Daryl Thorne, but apparently he had an issue with his flight or something and wasn't there. So I made it here for Dwayne's hearing. Dwayne's hearing is still in. We're just taking a quick break. He's been trying to show that the government had a unwarranted search and seizure of him, and some of the confiscation of some of the guns when he went to his checkpoint. They briefly spoke about Gary Hunt. Gary Hunt did have, or the government did have the prosecutor here that is bringing the charges against Gary. The judge said at this time they have not been able to prove that they have any jurisdiction over Gary here in Oregon, and the judge has asked that they come back with more factual evidence showing that they have jurisdiction over Gary and that Gary was aiding and abetting somebody. If they don't have jurisdiction, then they need to prove that he was aiding and abetting somebody that they did have jurisdiction over, one of the defendants here in Oregon. She said that if they cannot prove that either they had jurisdiction over Gary Hunt or that Gary was aiding and abetting somebody they do have jurisdiction over, then the judge has said that they actually need to go and take this up in a district in California and try to bring charges against him there if they do believe that he has been acting in contempt of court and that he is outside of his First Amendment. So at this time, things for Dwayne seem to be going well. It's really cold out here this morning. So we're just at a break, and they've been calling multiple witnesses for Dwayne on the phone, most of them for the prosecution, regarding what Dwayne has brought here with today's motion. So there's another phone call happening right now. The FBI agent who actually searched him the first time was on the phone for quite a while and did admit that he told Dwayne that if Dwayne went back and tried to help negotiate other people out, that he would not be arrested when he came back to the checkpoint. And the FBI agent admitted that was not true, and that when Dwayne came back to the checkpoint, that they did arrest him after telling him an hour previously that he would not be arrested and he would be able to leave through to safe passage. They said that was because they did not know that there was a warrant out for him. Apparently, a head FBI agent can tell people they're going to be granted safe passage, and as long as they don't know that they're lying, then it's not really a lie. Such a kangaroo court, it's nauseating to sit and listen. There's a couple of us here, myself, Becky, and Lee, and I have not seen Sean and Sandy yet. But we're continuing to pray that everybody does what they feel they need to do and that everybody takes their stand. So, holy cow, it's cold. So I'm going to go in. That's it. We'll do another update later. Thanks, guys. All right, heading home. I'm going to do a quick update, hopefully quick, of the end results of the day. So Jason's hearing was the last one that happened. Everything kind of got pushed out today because the morning hearings went a little bit longer than planned. But Jason's the main gist of Jason's hearing was because he is wanting to call Bundy and Ryan Payne to testify for him. Both are in Nevada facing their trial there. So apparently the judge is saying that she's concerned if Ammon and Ryan travel here from Nevada, that it will violate their right to a speedy trial. And while both are willing to come and testify on behalf of these defendants, they are not willing to sign a waiver giving up their right to a speedy trial, which is very wise. If they signed it, then if the government ends up bumping their trial out, they wouldn't be able to file for a mistrial based on the speedy trial right violation. So the fact that they want Ammon and Ryan to sign this, Ryan Payne, is a little bit comical. The reason is because at the beginning of all of this, Nevada wanted to indict them the same time as Portland, as the Oregon charges or indictments were coming. And the guys tried to contest that, saying that it would violate their right to a speedy trial and they wouldn't be prepared for trial if they traveled to Nevada to be indicted and then traveled back to Portland. Judge Brown didn't feel that a week away was going to cause them to have their rights violated, their speedy trial rights violated. So she made them all travel to Nevada while they needed to really be here preparing. And if you remember, that's when Ryan Bundy and Ammon ended up being handcuffed for 24 hours to their bench, not given a cell. Then when they were given a cell, there was no beds in it. It was not a good experience. It was not a good week for them when they should have been here preparing for trial. But now she's saying, oh gosh, if Ammon comes, this might violate, he might not be ready for trial. It might violate his right to a speedy trial if he has to postpone his trial because of this. So I did really appreciate Jesse, which is Jake Ryan's attorney, spoke up and said, with all due respect, Your Honor, you know, even if Ammon did say it would violate his right to a speedy trial, it still is the greatest impact for a defense team to be able to call the witnesses that they need for their trial. It's high on the priority list, and the Supreme Court has agreed, you know, because the Supreme Court is, yeah, anyway, they get to dictate what's important and what isn't important. So he says, Ammon made many requests while he was here in Portland, and you denied most of them. So even if Ammon did say it was going to violate his right to a speedy trial, you really are not obligated to comply because you didn't the entire time he was here and made requests that were denied. So I kind of thought that was a nice little jab. At the end of it, I think that the main reason is they just want either Ammon and Ryan Payne to not come, the prosecution and the judge, or they want them to come, but they want to make sure that they sign away their rights to a speedy trial because it gives them one little one up, if you will, in the building blocks here of these cases. They don't need to sign away that right. It's not going to affect their trial in Nevada. They'll be gone for less than a week, if even that. They're only going to let Ammon take the stand for 1 to 2 days. So really the fact that we even had to have a hearing over this was a little bit silly, but that's how our government works, and this is how our judicial system works. So, and then backtracking a little bit, Sean and Sandy's hearing went really well, and they did admit to trespassing after the 27th was the first time that they were officially told to leave, and they did not leave, and they felt that they could say that they were guilty for that and that they could take that misdemeanor charge on their record. They did have to surrender all of their guns. Sean is getting back one gun that is a family heirloom. And let's see, they have 1 year of probation, so no weapons during that time, although they did request to be able to bow hunt during that year, which is not normal because during probation you're not allowed to have any weapons. So they continue pushing and making sure they get what they feel they need to get out of this. Something that really made me sick about the hearing is Barrows. So one of the prosecutors, last name is Barrows. He's a really big guy. When he speaks, he tries to be very dominating, like they all do. And he was the one who spoke at Sean's pretrial release hearing, and he was absolutely, see my little hand in the background, he was absolutely venomous. He was so angry when he spoke about Sean and all the reasons Sean should not be released from stop waving, you're distracting me, little one. We'll sit here longer if you keep waving. He was the one who spoke, saying what a danger Sean was. So this just really made me sick. What a danger Sean is to society and why he should not have been let out on pretrial release. What is so frustrating to me and disgusting and shows there is no truth in our justice system is that he used Sean's videos and spoke about how these videos show what a danger he is to society and all these threats that he made and how awful he is and I mean just went on and on with what a danger this person is to society. But today, because there was a plea deal, he was the one who gets to give the recommendation to the judge on the sentencing. And in the plea deal, he agrees to basically go to bat for Sean and Sandy, saying, you know, that they shouldn't serve the 6-month jail time, that they should be let off with probation, and blah, 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 going through all the agreements that they made. To hear him speaking about Sean and saying this man has paid his debt to society, the videos that he did were not a representation of his overall character, rather a representation to his state of mind while he was at the refuge, due to the fact that the Lavoy Finicum had just been killed. He went on and on and on, trying to explain to the judge why she should honor the sentencing recommendations of the prosecution. It's almost this constant like mind trip sitting in these courtrooms, because what's truth is often a lie, and what is a lie is often seen as truth. But to sit here and hear this man who fought so hard to get Sean's pretrial release hearing denied, and used all the same arguments today but for Sean, all because they had made an agreement. So in the end, there is really no truth. Is he a threat to the public, or is he not a threat to the public? We don't really know based on the prosecution. I mean, I know he's not a threat to the public. But if you're going to go based on, you know, well, the prosecutor for the federal government said, what he says can change based on what he's getting out of the deal. And what he's getting is all he wanted, which is a guilty plea. He doesn't care what the charges are for in the end. The government has a very high guilty plea out rate. They care about everybody pleading guilty in the end. They do not want not guilty verdicts. Not guilty verdicts in the courtroom create new case law. Not guilty verdicts in the courtroom prove the innocence of these Americans. They don't want those. They'd rather forfeit the possibility of getting a guilty verdict. They'd forfeit that with the conspiracy charge, as long as they're guaranteed a guilty verdict for trespassing. Guys, this is their full-time job. I mean, the days that we have wasted this year in these courtrooms, this is all on America's money. The way that these men dress, the cars that they drive, the lifestyles that they live, their full-time job is to prosecute people for the government, on behalf of the United States government. And when they're prosecuting good Americans who protested them on those good Americans' tax dollars, and then they can't even make up their mind from one week to the next if these people are a threat or not. It's all based on how it's going to benefit them. There is no truth in these courts, I guess, is the bottom line of what I'm saying. It's all about what benefits them at that time. Nothing they say is truth. Their conviction rate is an absolute joke. The people that turn into felons so that they can disarm them and take away their Second Amendment rights is an absolute joke. And it's all being done on our tax dollars. That's ridiculous. This whole day was ridiculous. Most days in these courthouses are absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that I'm 36 years old and I've never experienced a court hearing before, I had no idea what an absolute mockery that this system makes of the American people and of our justice system. It's a shame. It really is a shame. People should be learning this kind of stuff in school and seeing what's really going on. So Dwayne's hearing, very emotional. Dwayne took the stand testifying that some of the things that were confiscated when he was arrested were done during illegal search and seizures. He took the stand to testify on his behalf and speak to the judge. He was very emotional. I think he did a great job on the stand. The prosecution was nasty. Gabriel's the one who cross-examined him, and he was aggressive, and he made the statement over and over, you're a felon, right? You're a felon. And Dwayne tried to say, you know, it's been expunged, but you're a felon, right? And Dwayne paused for a minute, and he says, no, I'm not. And I was really proud of him for that, because he really spoke up and showed his frustration in the corner that Gabriel was trying to paint him in. And his point was you shouldn't have had a gun to start with. Well, the gun he had was Lavoie's, and he was simply trying to take it out of the refuge to return it to the family. So but that's the gun that they're talking about that he shouldn't have had. They made a lot of statements about felon in possession, whether or not they'll tell the jury why the felon didn't have the right to bear arms, or if they'll just simply say this person was prohibited under federal law from owning a gun. Hearing these things in the courtroom is absolutely nauseating, because in the same sentence, they turn around and make statements about, we don't know if, sorry, texts keep coming in. We don't know if Ammon should travel here because we don't want it to violate his right to a speedy trial, his constitutionally protected right. Why do we talk about the Constitution and then in the same breath say that they didn't have a right to a trial by jury, and that somebody could be prohibited from carrying out a gun? You can be prohibited from using common sense and knowing this possession needs to get returned back to its rightful owner. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to deliver it to the rightful owner. That's common sense. And yet our government says you didn't have the right to do that because you're a felon. And remember, a felony can be for theft of over $1,000. You could steal a computer from somebody and lose your right to protect yourself and your right to vote. Let that sink in for a minute. This is America. You could steal a computer and lose your right to protect yourself and your rights to vote. That's ridiculous. That tells me there's an agenda with our government. Why would you disarm somebody for stealing a computer? Why would you disarm somebody if they have not been involved in any type of a violent crime, bringing harm to another human being? That tells me that there's a bigger agenda at play here. That's it. I think that's the rest of it for now. They do have court tomorrow, pre-trial, basically like going over trial stuff, and then also Wednesday as well. So that's it. I hear good stuff went on in Nevada today, so check out John's updates to see how everything went down there, and I think that's it. I'm gonna get home to my family. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you guys don't just watch. I hope you go out and do something, because if you're just watching to be entertained, then I'm really wasting my time, and I don't like live streams, and I don't like putting my face that is always broken out when I come to trial, because I'm always stressing about trial. I really don't like putting my face on here. So if you're gonna watch, please be a supporter and not just a follower, and find a way to help the political prisoners and to take your own stand. You can't ride on the coattails of the Bundys forever. Eventually your stand has to become personal to you in your fight for freedom. Otherwise, I don't know, otherwise we're just a circus, and we're the main ones on show, and that's just really lame. So that's all. Thanks, guys.